A rivalry renewed. Texas takes down Texas A&M in the Lone Star Showdown. A huge 4th and goal stop with 4:30 to play helped the Longhorns seal the victory 17-7. Texas advances to the SEC Championship. Will face Georgia in a rematch of the regular season when the Dogs beat the Longhorns 30-15. A virtual home game in Atlanta for Georgia next week. In the 120th edition of The Game, Michigan upsets Ohio State 13-10. Will Howard tossed 2 picks, including one in the red zone, and the Buckeyes failed to get a first down in the 4th quarter. Michigan held Ohio State to 77 rushing yards as the Wolverines beat the Buckeyes for the 4th year in a row. Post-game, a big old brawl after Michigan tried to plant its flag on the field. Instead of Ohio State, Penn State will play Oregon in the Big Ten Championship. And in the ACC, instead of Miami, Clemson will play SMU in the Conference Championship. Miami built a 21-0 lead, but Syracuse outscored the Canes 42-17 rest of way. With less than 4 minutes to play and down by 7, Miami head coach Mario Cristobal elected to kick a field goal on 4th and goal from the 10 instead of going for it. So now Miami will have to await its CFP fate. And here's a look at the CFP rankings entering the week. And you see Ohio State ranked number 2. They're going to fall after their loss to Michigan, and Miami getting upset on the road at Syracuse. Both those teams set to fall. Where will they be come Tuesday? CBS Sports HQ, built by the Home Depot, how doers get more done. Welcome in former Louisiana running back Emory Hunt and 24/7 Sports college football analyst Brad Crawford. The second to last CFP rankings will be released on Tuesday. The biggest upset of the day in Columbus. Brad, how far does Ohio State fall?
Yeah, the Buckeyes are in danger of losing a first-round home game. Ohio State, I think, falls to number 7 or 8 maybe, which they would still have a home game there. But there is a chance that after losing to Michigan here as a 3-touchdown favorite at home, Ryan Day's 4th straight loss to the Wolverines, the committee does not look favorably on Ohio State. Ohio State blew its chance to make the Big Ten championship game against Oregon. Penn State's now going to Indianapolis next week. And now Ohio State finishes 10-2. And like I said, may not have a home game, may also have a first-round home game. So it'll be very interesting to see where Ohio State finishes on Tuesday night.
Yeah, they don't deserve a first-round home game. They don't. Not the way they played. And look, if they're going to get to the national championship, which I think as an Ohio State fan, they have to get there for Ryan Day's job to be safe going into next season with a $20 million roster. You can't beat Michigan. They'll run you out of town. Ask John Cooper what happened when you don't beat Michigan, okay? Jim Tressel beat Michigan. Urban Meyer beat Michigan. You get handed the keys to the kingdom, and you can't beat Michigan. You're 1-4. You might have to leave town. His buyout's $37 million. So what concerns do you have about Ohio State after what you saw today?
Offense. Yeah. And that's been my biggest issue with them moving forward or in the preseason. Not because of the talent, is because we talked about this back in August, Hakeem. It was the quarterback, Will Howard. This is the same guy we saw at Kansas State get beat out by Avery Johnson and have not the biggest of moments against TCU in the Big 12 championship game, all of those events. And then now you see him come up small in the biggest games for Ohio State. This is why you brought him here, to try to be the icing on the cake. You thought Kyle McCord was the issue. You ran him out of town, and here he is upsetting Miami to knock them potentially out of the postseason. And the guy you're replacing him with throws 2 red zone interceptions that really cost you the game. This was a game that you expected Ohio State to walk through because Michigan was without 2 of their best players on defense, and you have all the offense. So the offense worries me, but you talk about that road game, that actually may be a blessing in disguise for Ryan Day.
Right, and it might end up being a blessing in disguise that they don't have to play in the Big Ten championship because they don't want to get battered and bruised against Oregon. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, I would have loved to have seen the rematch. Maybe we see it down the road in the playoff. You mentioned Kyle McCord, the former Ohio State quarterback. He played spoiler against Miami, 380 yards and 3 touchdowns, no picks. Syracuse rallied from a 21-0 deficit to beat the Canes. Miami's defense shredded once again. Mario Cristobal, coaching mistake. Once again, elects to kick a field goal instead of going for it on 4th and goal with one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. You take the ball out of his hands to kick a field goal. I don't know what we're doing, Brad. Is there still a path for Miami to get into the playoff?
The only path for Miami is if Miami is inside that top 12 Tuesday night, and I'm really not sure if the Hurricanes are going to be there. Now, we know the committee has loved Miami's offense the whole season, but this is the 5th game decided by a touchdown or less for Miami. Miami luckily won the previous 3 of those games, but lost to Georgia Tech and now lost today. So Miami out of the ACC championship picture, and now it looks like that league is going to be a one-bid league. If SMU beats Clemson next week, SMU is the only ACC team in my final projection that will make the playoffs. So really opens the door for a 3-loss Alabama or South Carolina. Miami will be on pins and needles Tuesday night.
Yeah, it's tough, man, because the TV side of me wants Miami in because of what we expect, the big names and everything, even from a potential Heisman finalist perspective with Cam Ward. But no one wants to look at the defense for Miami nationally or locally. So I can understand why they are out. But what I have concerns with is, hey, you're a 2-loss team. Yes, your 2 losses are egregious. You got upset by Georgia Tech and you got upset by Syracuse. So are you one of the top 12 teams in college football? And so that's going to be the biggest issue for Miami, especially not having that conference championship behind them or playing in a conference championship game. Too much is happening behind Miami right now in terms of the other teams that are ranked within the top 16 that could potentially push them out.
Yeah, they were one of the more fun teams to watch offensively. Defensively, not a fun team to watch, Miami. But, hey, you got Cam Ward whipping the ball around the yard to Xavier Estrepo. And, look, they were a fun offense to watch. But, yeah, you're right, pins and needles on Tuesday night because that's going to tell us what the committee thinks. Forget about wait until Selection Sunday. We'll find out Tuesday. The Miami loss helps teams from the SEC go into the final week of the regular season. Alabama was ranked 12th, followed by Ole Miss and South Carolina. All 3-1. All 3 have 3 losses. So, Brad, who has the best case for a playoff spot?
I mean, I think South Carolina has the best case because they've won 6 consecutive games to end the season here, 3 against ranked teams. Texas A&M was 1 win shy of reaching the SEC championship game. They beat Missouri with a last-second drive from Lenora Sellers, and then Sellers again today against Clemson comes up big, 170 yards rushing. Gamecocks now 9-3. Now, that being said, Alabama and Ole Miss were both ahead of South Carolina last week, and both those teams own the head-to-head against the Gamecocks. So Bama took care of business, and Ole Miss did too, but the committee has a decision to make. Do you take the most deserving, hottest team in the country, which is South Carolina, or do you take the team that won head-to-head, which is Alabama? The committee, we will find out Tuesday night what they're going to do.
I'm glad Brad brought that up because here's the thing. This is where the committee has to really lock in on the eye test because the eye test would tell them that South Carolina should have beaten LSU and Alabama because, yes, Alabama did win the game and LSU won the game, but we all watched how LSU won that ball game. We know there was a phantom block in the back call on the pick 6 that changed the tide of that game, and we saw the ball go into the 5th row against Alabama in which South Carolina had a chance to win that in the end. Did all that to come back to ultimately lose the game. So they are playing the best ball right now. I think they are the second best team in the SEC with the first being Texas. So if they reward what they're watching, and they're watching this team, South Carolina, that has now built up a cult following in terms of people want to see these guys play. They play a great brand of defense, have an exciting young quarterback. They look like how Alabama looked, I want to say last year with Jalen Milroe and how they won those games on the back end of the season. So reward South Carolina. They just have the biggest upset today, beating a Clemson team to really, knock them down in the rankings. But Miami lost that will put them in an ACC title game. But this is the most exciting team. They're playing great football. I think they deserve, out of the 3-loss teams, to get in.
I look at South Carolina, Brad, and I go, I love this team. 6 straight wins to end the regular season. But then I understand what Alabama fans are going to say. We beat Georgia and we beat South Carolina. So when the committee makes this decision, what do they talk about there? Do they go, okay, well, South Carolina is the hottest team. Alabama won by 14 over Auburn. It wasn't convincing. I mean, I know it was a 2-touchdown win, but it wasn't like a 35-10 win. And I know we get caught up in style points, but that's the conversation, right? It's South Carolina hot at the right time. Alabama kind of doing enough. That can't be enough, though.
Well, look at recent common opponents too. Alabama gave up 40 points at Vanderbilt and lost that game. South Carolina beat Vanderbilt in Nashville by 3 touchdowns. Alabama lost to Oklahoma on the road last week. South Carolina beat Oklahoma on the road 35-9. South Carolina is undoubtedly playing better football right now than Alabama, but I do think head-to-head matters to this committee. Now, we're going to find out this week if ultimately that's what keeps South Carolina from being out of this first expanded playoff and Alabama as a brand name is also a factor that I don't think has been mentioned enough. Bama has proven its value over the last decade plus in the playoff with multiple national championships, and that might be the case here in a couple days.
Give me the Gamecocks.
Yeah, I'm with South Carolina as well. But again, if we're arguing over 3 lost teams, Miami is like, hey, we only lost twice.
Yeah, they don't play in the SEC though. That's what the committee is saying.
0 wins over ranked teams for Miami.
Right. All right. And the penultimate CFP rankings will be released on Tuesday. So, Brad, give us a preview. Who's in your top 12? Let's take a look at it.
Yeah, I don't think South Carolina's going to make the top 12 on Tuesday night. You know, it's going to be an unfortunate situation for Gamecock fans. Probably the first team out. I do think Bama slides into that 12 spot. Right now, Bama would be the first team out if Arizona State, Colorado, BYU, one of those teams wins the Big 12. I think Miami is going to be very important to see what the committee does with the Hurricanes. And then this is my first round projected matchups. Arizona State as my Big 12 projected champion going to South Bend. Notre Dame right now, guys, is playing just about as good as anybody in college football. Just beat USC on the road with 2 interception returns late. Tennessee at Ohio State. How's that for a first round matchup? Nobody saw coming. Alabama as one of the last teams in against Penn State. So some very good first-round possibilities there. Still a lot to shake out, though. Conference Championship weekend, probably not going to go chalk either.
You kept Indiana there at 10, huh? All right. They just absolutely boat raced. They absolutely boat raced Purdue, 66-0. That's worth at least one spot, right?
Boat race.
Yeah, right. A lot of teams boat race Purdue, like you said.
That's true.
Right. I will say this. I love Brad's bracket because these matchups in the first round, spicy. I'm all about spice.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I can't wait for much, much more here. We will have reaction to the CFP rankings on Tuesday as you take a look at Brad's top 12 following Week 14. Ohio State would still host a game here as a 7 seed.
Now let's rank them in terms of money. Put SMU number 1.
We'll see about that. Again, the penultimate CFP rankings on Tuesday. Plenty of reaction here on CBS Sports HQ.